Has your heart ever sunk just a little when you see an email from your child's teacher pop up in your inbox? Especially when you have a hunch it might be about, well, your little chatterbox, or perhaps your little whirlwind making their presence known a bit too much in class? That feeling, that little knot in your stomach, it's something so many of us parents experience. You are not alone in that, truly. It can bring up a whole mix of emotions, can't it? Worry about our child, frustration that it's happening again. Maybe even a little bit of that, what am I doing wrong? Feeling that we're all so good at piling on ourselves. Today, we're going to talk about just that. Not in a way that adds to any pressure you might be feeling, because goodness knows we have enough of that already. Instead, think of this as a warm chat between friends. A chance to breathe and explore some gentle, practical ways to understand what's really going on when our kids struggle with talking in class or causing disruptions. We'll be looking at how we can navigate these challenges with compassion, with connection, and with a real sense of hope. Because there is hope, and there are so many ways we can support our children and ourselves through this. And often, the very first step, the one that can make all the difference, is simply trying to understand the why behind the talking or the wiggles. It's so easy to jump to conclusions, isn't it? To think it's deliberate defiance or a lack of respect. But what if we paused, just for a moment, and looked a little deeper? What if we got curious about what's truly driving that behavior? Because when we start to understand the root cause, we can respond so much more effectively and with so much more kindness, both for our child and for ourselves. You see, children's behavior, especially behavior that's a bit challenging, is almost always a form of communication. They're trying to tell us something, even if they don't have the words or the awareness to say it directly. So when a child is consistently talking out of turn or can't seem to sit still, it's rarely about them just wanting to be naughty. It could be so many other things. Maybe they're bored, and their bright little mind is just craving more stimulation. Perhaps they're feeling a bit lost academically, and the talking is a way to mask that insecurity, or even a way to get attention that feels more manageable than struggling with the work. Sometimes it's about an unmet need for connection. Perhaps they're feeling a bit disconnected at school or even at home, and this is their way of reaching out, however clumsily. For other children, it might be about struggling with self-regulation, that tricky skill of managing impulses and energy levels. Their little bodies and brains are still developing, and sitting still and quiet for long periods can be a monumental task for some. We also have to consider things like excitement. Maybe they're just so enthusiastic about something they've learned or want to share that it just bursts out. Or it could be a sign of anxiety, where the chatter is a nervous habit, a way to cope with feeling overwhelmed in the classroom environment. And sometimes, though not always, persistent disruptive behavior can be a flag for underlying learning differences or sensory processing challenges that need a closer look and some extra support. So, how do we start to uncover that why? Well, one of the first things we can do is become a bit of a gentle detective. Start by observing your child, not just when they're getting into trouble, but in all sorts of situations. What are they like at home during playtime? When they're focused on something they love? Are there particular times of day or specific situations at school when the talking or restlessness seems to peak? The teacher can be a wonderful source of information here too, as we'll talk about in a little bit. Then, when things are calm and you're both relaxed, try talking to your child. Not in an accusatory way, like, "Why were you talking in class again?" Because that's likely to make them shut down. But more gently, with genuine curiosity. You could try something like, "Honey, I heard things were a little tricky in class today. Can you tell me about it? What was happening for you?" Or, "I wonder what it feels like when you really want to say something in class, but it's not your turn yet." Listen more than you talk. Let them share their perspective. You might be surprised by what you learn. It might be something as simple as, "I just forget." or something more complex, like the work is too easy, or I get scared when it's quiet. And of course, it's always helpful to keep in mind their developmental stage. What's considered typical behavior varies so much depending on a child's age and individual temperament. A 5-year-old's ability to sit still and resist interrupting is very different from a 10-year-old's. Sometimes our expectations might need a little adjusting. I remember a little boy, let's call him Leo. His teacher was concerned because he was constantly humming and tapping his pencil during lessons. His mom, at her wit's end, initially reacted with frustration, trying to get him to just stop. But then she started observing him more closely, as we just talked about. She noticed he did it most when he was working on something he found particularly challenging, like math problems. It wasn't defiance. It was his way of concentrating, his way of coping with the mental effort. Once she understood that, she was able to talk to his teacher about it. And together they found some quieter ways for Leo to channel that energy, like a stress ball under his desk. That little shift in understanding, from seeing it as a problem behavior to seeing it as a coping mechanism, changed everything for them. It allowed them to approach it with empathy and find solutions that actually worked. So that curiosity, that willingness to look beyond the surface, that's our starting point. And once we have a better sense of what might be going on for our child, another incredibly important piece of the puzzle is building a strong partnership with their teacher. It can be tempting sometimes to feel like it's us versus the school, or to get defensive when we hear about our child's struggles. But truly, teachers want what's best for our children too. They are on our team, or at least we want to help them be. Think of your child's teacher as an ally, someone who sees your child in a completely different context than you do. They have a classroom full of children to manage, yes, but they also have unique insights into how your child interacts with peers, how they approach learning, and what might be triggering their disruptive behavior in that specific environment. Opening a channel for honest, respectful communication can make a world of difference. So how do we do that? Well, it often starts with reaching out proactively. Don't wait for the problems to escalate. If you know your child has a tendency to be talkative or restless, or if you've received a note, try to schedule a brief chat with the teacher. You could start by saying something like, "I really appreciate you letting me know about child's names talking in class. I want to work together with you to help them. Could you tell me a bit more about when it happens and what you've observed?" This shows you're engaged and willing to be a partner. Ask specific questions. Instead of just, "How are they doing?" try, "When does the talking seem to happen most? Are there particular subjects or times of day? What strategies have you already tried in the classroom? What seems to help, even a little bit?" And just as importantly, share your insights about your child. You know your child best. You know their strengths, their sensitivities, their triggers. Maybe there's something going on at home that might be impacting their behavior at school. Sharing this information, appropriately of course, can help the teacher understand the bigger picture. The goal here is to develop a consistent approach, a plan that both you and the teacher can support, both at home and at school. It doesn't have to be complicated. Maybe it's a simple visual cue the teacher can use in class, and you can reinforce the importance of that cue at home. Or perhaps it's a daily communication log, just a quick note back and forth. I once knew a parent who was feeling so overwhelmed by the daily reports of her son's disruptions. She finally sat down with the teacher, and they decided to try a good news report for a week. The teacher made an effort to catch her son doing something positive, even if it was small, and send that home. It shifted the whole dynamic. The little boy started feeling more encouraged, the parent felt less stressed, and the teacher actually found it helped her see him in a more positive light too. It's about finding what works for your unique child and your family's situation, and doing it together. It's like building a bridge, as I mentioned. You're on one side, the teacher on the other, and your child is the precious cargo you both want to help cross safely and successfully. When you work as a team, that bridge becomes so much stronger. Now, alongside understanding the why and partnering with the school, there's so much we can do at home to help our children develop those crucial self-regulation skills. Self-regulation, that ability to manage our impulses, our emotions, our energy levels. It's not something kids are just born with. It's a skill, much like learning to read or ride a bike, and it develops gradually over time with lots of guidance, practice, and patience from us. And when children have better self-regulation, they're naturally better equipped to manage themselves in a classroom setting. So how can we nurture these skills? It's not about lectures or punishments when they slip up. It's more about teaching and practicing in calm, connected moments. One way is to help them become more aware of their own bodies and feelings. You could talk about their inner motor. Sometimes it runs fast, sometimes it runs slow. Help them recognize the signs that their motor is starting to rev up too high, like feeling wiggly or their voice getting louder. Then you can teach them simple, calming strategies. Deep breathing is a wonderful tool. You can call it balloon breaths or smell the flower, blow out the candle. Practice it together when they're calm so they can access it when they're feeling overwhelmed or impulsive. Maybe they could have a small, quiet fidget toy, like a stress ball or a piece of putty, if the teacher allows it, to help them channel that restless energy in a non-disruptive way. Games are also a fantastic, fun way to build self-control. Think about classic games like Simon Says, Red Light, Green Light, or even many board games that require waiting for your turn and following rules. These games give children a chance to practice inhibiting their impulses in a playful context. You can also create opportunities for them to practice waiting, like delaying gratification for a small treat and praising their effort when they manage it. And as with so many things in parenting, our own modeling plays a huge role. When our children see us handling our own frustrations, disappointments, or moments of impatience calmly and thoughtfully, they learn far more than they would from any lecture. If you get cut off in traffic, for example, instead of yelling, you could take a deep breath and say, "Wow, that was frustrating, but I'm going to stay calm." You're showing them in real time how to manage those big feelings and impulses. Imagine you're teaching your child to tie their shoelaces. You wouldn't just tell them, "Tie your shoes," and expect them to get it perfectly the first time. You'd show them, guide their hands, let them practice over and over, and celebrate their progress. Teaching self-regulation is very similar. Maybe you could create a cozy, calm-down corner at home. A safe and inviting space with soft pillows, some quiet books, or calming sensory items, where they can go when they feel overwhelmed or need a moment to reset. It's not a punishment place, but a supportive space. Or you might practice something like turtle time, where they learn to metaphorically retreat into their shell for a moment when they feel an impulse to shout out or get up. It's these small, consistent efforts woven into everyday life that build those crucial inner muscles of self-control over time. It's a marathon, not a sprint, but every step forward counts. And that brings me to something that I believe underpins all of these strategies, something that's perhaps the most powerful tool we have as parents: the strength of our connection with our children. When kids feel deeply seen, heard, and securely connected to us at home, they are so much better equipped to navigate the challenges they face out in the world, including those in the classroom. A strong, loving relationship provides a safe harbor for them, a place where they can bring their worries, their frustrations, their mistakes, and know they'll be met with understanding and support. This, in turn, can significantly reduce their need to act out, to get attention, or to release pent-up emotions. So how do we cultivate this deep connection, especially when life is so busy? It often comes down to the small, consistent things. making time for dedicated one-on-one connection, even if it's just 10 or 15 minutes of truly focused, uninterrupted attention each day, can be incredibly powerful. Put away your phone, turn off the TV, and just be present with your child. Let them choose the activity. Maybe it's reading a book together, playing a silly game, or just chatting about their day. It's not about the quantity of time, but the quality of that connection. Active listening is another cornerstone of a strong relationship. When your child is talking to you, especially about something difficult, try to really listen, not just to their words, but to the feelings behind them. Put yourself in their shoes. Validate their emotions, even if you don't necessarily agree with their behavior. You could say something like, "It sounds like you were feeling really frustrated when that happened," or, "I can understand why you felt angry." When children feel understood, they're much more open to our guidance. Creating predictable routines and rhythms at home can also contribute to a child's sense of security and regulation, which can then spill over into their school day. Knowing what to expect, regular meal times, a consistent bedtime routine, clear family rules, helps children feel safe and grounded. And when it comes to their behavior, try to focus on their effort and progress rather than just the outcome or the mistakes. If your child has been working on not calling out in class and they manage it for even part of the day, acknowledge that. "I heard from your teacher that you remembered to raise your hand a few times today. That's fantastic. I know that's something you're working on, and I'm so proud of your effort." Celebrating those small victories can be incredibly motivating for them. Think about how you feel when you've had a really tough day and you come home to someone who just listens without judgment, maybe offers a hug, and makes you feel like you're not alone. It's like a pressure valve releasing, isn't it? Our kids need that from us, tenfold. Maybe it's a special handshake you do before school each morning, a little note you tuck into their lunchbox, or a high five for trying your best when they tell you about their day, even if it wasn't perfect. These little rituals of connection, these consistent affirmations of love and support, are like anchors for our children. They create a strong home base from which they can venture out into the world, knowing they always have a safe place to return, a place where they are unconditionally loved and accepted. Wiggles, chatter, and all. Parenting, especially when our kids are navigating these tricky school situations, is such a journey, isn't it? It's rarely a straight line. There will be bumps and detours and moments where we feel a little lost, wondering if we're doing anything right. But through it all, the most important thing we can do, the thing that truly matters, is to keep showing up with love, with a willingness to understand, and with a deep-seated commitment to connecting with our children on a heart level. It's about seeing beyond the behavior to the beautiful, unique child underneath and helping them find their way. Remember, you are not alone in this. So many of us have walked this path, or are walking it right now with our own children. And every small step you take towards understanding your child better, every compassionate conversation you have, every moment of genuine connection you build, it all matters. It's like planting seeds. You might not see the full bloom immediately, but you are nurturing growth, resilience, and a stronger, more loving family bond that will last a lifetime. You have so much wisdom and strength within you. You've got this, truly. If this conversation resonated with you today, if you found a little bit of comfort or perhaps a new idea to try, we'd be so grateful if you'd give this video a like. It helps other parents find these conversations too. And if you know someone else who might be navigating similar challenges and could use a little support, please do share it with them. We're all about building a community of support here at Family Connection Hub, a place where we can learn and grow together as parents. So if you haven't already, we'd love for you to subscribe and join our conversations. We're all in this together, figuring things out one day, one connection at a time. Thank you so much for being here.